about to begin the service for Mr. Abarbanell. I ask any of you who have a cellular device to please turn it to the off position. Officiating our service today will be Rabbi Barry Schechter.
Mizmor David, Adonai, mi Yaakov Yolecha, mi Yishkon behar Kodshecha, Holech Tamid, Ofoel Tzedek, V'lover emet bilvavo, Lo regal leishono, lo asal rei hura, v'cherpa, lo nasa ale kerovo, nivze binav nimas, v'et yerei Adonai chabed, nishbal ara, Velo Yamir Kaspo Lonatan ben Neshech Vishochad Onakil Olakach Oseyele Lo Yimot Liolam. God, who may abide in your house, who may dwell in your holy mountain, those who are upright, who do justly, who speak the truth within their hearts, who do not slander others or wrong them or bring shame upon them, who give their word and come what may do not retract, who do not exploit others. Those who live in this way shall never be shaken. Dear friends, we're here for a sad and difficult occasion to say goodbye, which is one of the most difficult things we can ever do, but also to pay tribute and to honor the memory and, even if possible, to celebrate the life of Irving Abarbanell, Yisrael in Hebrew, the son of Evelyn and George, who's gone to his eternal rest and leaves behind a family and many friends who loved him very, very dearly. First, I should mention his wife, Carol, his daughter, Rachel, and her Michael, a grandson, Dylan, who I believe is four months old, whom we got to see, his sister, Laurel, and brother and sister-in-law, Arnold, and his Martha Jean, Arnold Schechter, and nephews and niece Jonathan Pollack, Benjamin and his Nicole Schechter, David Schechter, Anna Schechter. I should mention also the late Jeremy Pollack, and of course I am Rabbi Barry Schechter, but as far as we know, not related, although who knows what future research will show. Anyway, we're going to hear first from Jonathan. Where's Jonathan?
I'm right here.
Good. So, Jonathan, why don't you come up and speak to us about Irving?
You'll have to pardon me. This is rather extempore, but it's good to see family and all the friends who were so gracious to come out here today. I just was reflecting how long I knew Irv. When I was a little boy, he was one of my younger relatives that would come to the family gatherings. I knew Irv when he was in, this'll rhyme, I knew Irv when he was in the Army Reserve, and he still had some weights. He had barbells and dumbbells in his room at the family apartment in Oak Park, and he helped out in the family business. I mean, he was a young guy. It's thinking back, it's so long ago. He was the guy who drove up in the loud sports car that hurt my ears, a red MG. This is, we're talking about Eisenhower was still president, so it's a history lesson too. But I mean, Irv was a young guy. He was helping out in the business, and he just was many things. He was a family man, and now he's a a grandfather, and it was so lovely that he got to see Dylan 2-3 weeks ago. He was in various businesses, including a business of his own, and he was a great guy. If you needed something, if you needed help, if you needed a friend, that was Irv. And he was an interesting fella too. I mean, he was in business and he knew about business. He was about as well versed as anybody you'd want to meet. And I was just reflecting on all this because I'm an old fella myself now, and my memories of Irv, like I say, he was, you know, saw lots of grandfathers and grandmothers and elderly uncles, and he was the young uncle, the young uncle who came over in the sports car, and wow, we've come a long way. But it's the time to say goodbye now. We remember him very, very fondly, and it's wonderful of all of you to come out here today. And thank you so much for bearing with me.
Thank you, Jonathan, for giving a lovely picture of your memories. I've spoken to Carol and to Rachel, a few of you, and you told me how he was born here. He grew up in Oak Park, and I think he went to high school actually in Oak Park and River Forest High School, and he went to college, but he finished up at Lake Forest College because his father George was sick in the hospital, and he wanted to be close to him. And the families, you told me, owned cleaning stores, and he helped, as you said, for a number of years, and then of course he became a stockbroker. And when I asked you how you met, you said that there was you lived on Pine Grove, right? 3930 Pine Grove. It was a singles building essentially. There were many activities. There was a party room, and that's where you met. So, if any of you are familiar with the term shadchan, you know what a shadchan is? Shadchan is a marriage broker. It sounds like shotgun, but it has nothing to do with it. A shadchan. So your shadchan was 39, the building at 3930 Pine Grove that brought you together. I'm sure it brought others together as well, right? And you were married in 1975. Later, you lived at 4124 North Paulina. There are quite a number of people here who live. Of all the people here, if we take those who are called Schechter, that includes me, and those who lived on Paulina, I think that's almost everyone. Not quite, but close. Am I right? Yes. And of course, by one of these incredible coincidences that happens, your cousin, your niece, Karen, who is here, and I learned after I was going to do this after we spoke, Karen was here, who's here. Karen and my wife met at Northern Illinois University, and my wife stood up at Karen's wedding, so I'm part of the family. So were you at Karen's wedding? You were. So you know my wife then. Anyway, as you told me, he loved writing poetry, and you brought me a little sample, which I will read. His nocturnal dreams had fled. He opened his eyes and rolled out of bed to start the oven that he may bake the finest babka cake. Anyway, if you enjoyed this, you'll have a great deal more. And if it gets you thinking of babka, which I hope all of you had, and if it gets you hungry, that's also not a bad thing. He also loved, as you put it, he loved anything and everything that moved. Cars, boats. We heard about his not so silent MG, his red MG. He had a Rolls Royce, right? Just one. One is quite expensive anyway. He had a Rolls Royce, and I learned from some gentleman here that it was a British Rolls Royce. The wheel was on the right-hand side. So you have he would have the joy when he's driving it, of driving near the curb. Not so good for, well, anyway, I don't know how he managed to do. Did he drive it a lot, the Rolls Royce? No. You're nodding and you're shaking your head. This will be settled later in a vigorous debate. He had a Jaguar, right? Many Mercedes, a Jeep with a top that came down. I think Rachel, when you were in Knox College, you rode in that distinguished vehicle. I must have caused quite a stir among them. Do you remember this? You don't remember it. I want to tell you something. The other people who are in school with you do remember it. Rachel, you went to Anshe Emet. You first were in the day school, and then you were in the Hebrew school. And you had your bat mitzvah there. But let's get back to the things that move. The boats. The boats. There was a boat in Montrose Harbor. There's a boat at Fox Lake. In fact, as you told me, on one of your first dates, he invited you. Wait for this. You'll hear how romantic this is. On one of your first dates, he invited you to join him in painting the boat in Fox Lake. And the miracle, you continued dating him. And not only that, you married him, which was wonderful. I think you actually went on his motorbike to Fox Lake. Were you insured? He loved to build things as well. I think he was at the end. He was working on a model airplane, wasn't he? Which he was building. He liked to swim. He would swim in Lake Michigan, and he loved riding. He loved riding his bike, and he would do it by himself. He rode to Lake Forest. Where was that from? From where was that? We're in which one? On Paulina. I just want you to imagine this. Think about this slowly. Riding a bike from where you lived on Paulina to Lake Forest and presumably back again. Yes. I get exhausted just thinking about it. I used that word adventurous, and you agreed. He was adventurous, except for airplanes. He did not like traveling on airplanes, but he did come on an airplane, right, to see you and to see your husband and to see Dylan, right? He did come. I know that you went to Binghamton, New York, when there was your bat mitzvah. All your family from Binghamton, right? You drove all the way there. He did the driving. Rachel, you were there. I think you stopped in places. You did a little touring. He loved to read. He loved to read. You told me in the house you have over 1,500 books. He loved to read about people who created things. I told you he was in the market, the stock market. But he loved to read books about Tesla and Vanderbilt and Warren Buffett. And he would go to bookstores and hunt and find all these wonderful books. At home, you told me there was always a book in his hand. He was always reading. He was very interested in military history in World War I and World War II. I think you said one of his uncles was killed in a submarine in World War II. When he was young, when he was in the grammar school, he loved Bing Crosby, the singing of Bing Crosby. And for years, his nickname was Bing. And the family and friends called him Bing. And I think you once asked for Irving, and they said, "Who's Irving?" And you explained, you said, "That's Bing." Anyway, but you called him Irv, and most do, except there's some relatives maybe some here, who still, yes, you still call him Bing. You traveled to Binghamton, as I mentioned, to Virginia, to Washington, D.C. There's some very, very good friends here of his and yours, good friends from grammar school and high school. And some of these friends of his, you were couples. You met their wives and so on. And I think you told me that he could be quiet, but he and his sister would tell jokes to each other. Is that right? And I mean, they appreciated the jokes. I'm not sure. Did other people? I think it was you didn't appreciate the jokes. I understand. And he told he liked to tell puns. My notes say that he told bad puns, and he really loved them. Other people wouldn't like them that much, but he gave him pleasure. Did he repeat them? Were they just told once? No, just once. That was ample. Yes. He read the newspaper every day. He read many biographies. He was quiet, actually. He was not someone who goes and trumpets about himself everywhere. He was old-fashioned, as he told me. He wrote letters rather than use the phone. I don't think he was a whiz with computers. Am I right? I'm understating it. I think, right? Smartphones. I don't. No. But he wrote letters, which is lovely. We don't have these now. We have emails or texts. Which are 3 words with little signs and signals and emojis and ghastly little things like that. And he actually wrote. And as you heard, that was that lovely little poem, which was quite economical, but it said quite a lot in just a couple of lines. And the impression I got from talking to you about him was that was what he was, that he didn't need to speak a great deal or to dominate a room or a party, but what he said carried weight. That if he spoke, that you knew it meant something. He wasn't garrulous and talkative. We live in a very talkative age. There are people who, if you watch TV or go online or whatever, it's a very noisy time. It's a noisy time, and it's when people in electronics or whatever, when they talk about noise, you can't hear the actual message because of the noise. Because of the noise, there's so much noise that we can't hear things. But there was no noise from him. What he said was really important. And so today we are saluting this lovely Jewish man who's gone to his eternal rest and who had things that he loved doing. And I think he quietly brought a lot of joy to others. And the fact that so many are here now, either because you were his friends or because you're Carol's friends, I think that says a lot. To support Carol, but also to remember him, that says a lot about him. As I say, he's at peace now. And I think I mentioned, we talked, his name, Abarbanell, is the name of a very, very distinguished rabbi. And of this, Schechter doesn't mean we're related, but of this I have absolutely no doubt that he is descendant of that rabbi. There are very few people called Abarbanell. I've known one other. And so maybe some of that spirit was in him, the spirit that caused him not to make a lot of noise, but to make sounds that meant something. So of him I say, Tehei nishmato tzurura b'tzor hachayim, which means may his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. That's what I say of him. And to him I say, Irving, Israel, lech b'shalom, gay in freedom, go in peace. Hover lechting Gan Eden, may your repose be in paradise. You will never be forgotten. You will always be remembered in love by those who knew you and loved you, and those whom you knew and you loved. Amen. Mizmor David, Adonai, Roi lo echzar, Binot el sheyarbitzeni, Al mei mnuchat ינהלני נפשי ישובב ינחני במגלי צדק למען שמו גם כי ילך בגיא צלם מוות lo irara, ki ata imadi. Shivtecha umishanetecha, hema yanachamuni. Taharach lefanai, sholechan neged zorerai. Tishanta v'shemen roshi, kasir revaya. Ach tov v'chesed yirefuni, kol yemei chayai. V'shavti b'veit Adonai, li'orech yamim. That was the 23rd Psalm in Hebrew. I'm going to recite it in English. If you open these little booklets that you have, it's there at the top on the left-hand side. Would you join me in reading, please? The 23rd Psalm on the left side as you open, after you open the pamphlet that you have, together. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And now I'm going to ask those of you who can to stand, and if you can't, then please don't stand. I'm going to, it's just the two of you with the ribbons, is that right? Yes. So I'm going to tear your ribbons a bit. You could do it yourself actually, but I'll help you. And then the two of us are going to say a bracha, a blessing that we say on these occasions when we suffer a loss. So let me help you. So I'll do it this way so that they can hear this as well. So say with me, you know the bracha, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, you know? Yes? Good. So at the end, there are two different words, so I will say those with you. So with me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Dayan ha'emet, which means blessed be the true judge. That's what we say when we suffer a loss. And now I'm going to continue with the memorial prayer, the Eil Malei Rachamim. If you wish to rise for this, you can. If it's difficult, stay seated. Eil Malei Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Ametzei Menucha Nechona, תחת כנפי השינה, ומעלות קרושות הורים, כזרקיה מסירים. את נשמת ישראל בן אבלין וג'ורג' שהלך לעולמו יעבור. שאנחנו נודרים לצדקה מיד אז קראת נשמתו בגן עדן תהי מנוחתו לכן בעל הרחמים יסתירהו בסתר כנפיו לעולמים ויצרור ביצרור החיים את נשמתו. אדוני הוא נחלתו, וינוח בשלום על משכבו, ונאמר Amen. Passionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure who shine as the brightness of the firmament, unto the soul of Irving Abarbanell, the son of Evelyn and George, who has entered eternity and in whose memory we offer charity. May his repose be in paradise. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in your eternal presence, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. And now, shall we, we'll lower the casket, I think. You can have a seat while this is happening. And then, after the casket is lowered, we will say the mourner's Kaddish. Excuse me 1 second. Before, just hold 1 second. I have here some. Oopsie daisy. Everything's flying around. It's okay. I have here some earth from Israel. This earth. Why do we have this? Well, you see, Jewish people traditionally wanted to be buried in Israel, which obviously is not always possible. So we bring earth here from Israel. This earth comes from the Har HaZeitim, the Mount of Olives, in Jerusalem. It's an ancient and sacred cemetery. And before the gentlemen are lowering the casket, I'm going to sprinkle this on the casket so that, in a sense, he's going to be buried in Israeli earth. Let's say the Kaddish now if we can. It's on the back page, and I will say it with you. You can respond. When we say V'imru, you say Amen. You say V'imru, you say Amen. Let's begin. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah v'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chaye chon v'yomei chon v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael Ba'agala uvizman kariv Va'imru, everyone, amen, amen. Yehi shemei rabba mevarach le'alam ulalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudisha briich hu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran v'alma v'imru, everyone, amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, everyone, amen. Putting the full cover on. And after they've done that, then anyone who wishes to is able to will be able to put some Should we move this desk out of the way, maybe? Friends, now, whoever the immediate family wishes is able to go. So why don't we start with them? And no one go alone. Just go at least two of you together. The ground is uneven, and it's more uneven than it looks. So please be very, very careful. take care.
Gina was over here. Sarah McCall. And Luke.
Rachel, I don't know if you remember me yet. Oh, you do? Yeah, because we went to high school together. I liked your
That's all right.
They were talking about addresses, and I'm like, here we are. I will It's too bad you didn't mention all your puppy dogs. Yeah, 5 or 6 of them. But I remember the cars, the motorcycles. Yes. I got to ride it. That was when they made the party. Fire. I went and did the flowers at their restaurant.
Friends, the live stream is now concluded. The family should know no more sorrow.